Shop the Sherwin-Williams Memorial Day sale and get 30% off paints and stains May 15th through the 28th. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
It is Monday, May 18th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. The Cavaliers advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals with a Game 7 victory over the Pistons, and it's the two greatest words in sports. Well, let's make it 5 great words. Game 7 Stanley Cup playoffs. Jake Hassan joins me on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel. And Jake, let's talk about Game 7 last night between the Cavaliers and the Pistons. A complete no-show from Detroit, kind of equivalent to the no-show that Cleveland had in Game number 6 on their home floor. Cavs win 125-94. So many different aspects of this game were really head-scratching to me. We did cash with the Cavs first quarter. We did cash with the over for the game because the total, in my opinion, was just suppressed way too much. 204.5. I understand it's a Game 7 and these games go under most of the time, but baking that into the market and suppressing the total by this much made no sense to me, which is why I was a little bit contrarian with the total. But the player props, oh my goodness, scratching my head at some of the coaching decisions that we saw last night from both sides.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought about, Scott, when we talked last week, and I said to you, are we really going to back James Harden, a James Harden team, to go the distance in advance? And now here we are. I mean, I look like the fool here, but I mean, you're right. The over obviously hits, like you said, and it's a Game 7, so we were expecting to suppress, but I mean, for me, I was just surprised by the dud by Detroit. Like, I expected way more fight out of this team. I was on Detroit, so egg on my face. But credit to Cleveland. We've been kind of marinating on this Cleveland team for feels like 2 years or so now, and they got the James Harden edition, and it feels like we've been waiting for the Donovan Mitchell teams to take that leap. But they do it here, and now we have a full offseason of, well, is Cade Cunningham going to go home? Is Cade Cunningham going to leave Detroit? That's neither here nor there. This is a betting show, so we'll talk about the upcoming series against the Knicks. But I'm going to say the same stance, Scott. Are we gonna back a James Harden team in the Eastern Conference Finals here? For me, it's going to be a no.
Yeah, no. The answer is no. Like 100%. The answer is no. I just got to be honest. Like, and it's not just because we lost this prop bet, and pretty much everybody on the internet lost this prop bet. But Paul Reed had a great series for the Detroit Pistons. Paul Reed averaged about 14 minutes of game time in the first 6 games of this series, and he averaged about 13 to 13 and a half points per game from those 14 minutes. So we're talking about a guy that's averaging about a point a minute when he's on the floor. JB Bickerstaff, the coach of the year, he just decides that in Game 7, Reed's not going to play?
Yeah.
Like, the dude is just going to come off the bench and play 8 minutes, and 7 of those were in the second half or whatever. 6 of those were in the second half. Baffling coaching decision last night. You had something that you found that worked, and all of a sudden you changed it in Game 7, and your team came out flat. Your team had no answer for the bigs of the Cavaliers, whether it was Allen, who had a great game, Mobley, who contributed as well with a big-time performance. But this was, in my opinion, more of an indictment of J.B. Bickerstaff and his coaching and maybe the inexperience factor with the Detroit Pistons, because talent-wise, I mean, Pistons should have won this series already. And I tweeted it out during their Game 6 blowout that this series is over. Like, the Cavs are just going to be a disappointment. Pistons are going to win by double digits. I did not see this lackluster of an effort coming from them here in Game 7, especially on their home floor.
And you bring up Mobley, Scott, and I think that's the thing that I want to make a point to mention here tonight is that are we expecting Evan Mobley to get shut down by Karl Anthony Towns? Like, I feel like going forward as we go into the Eastern Conference Finals and we talk about the Cavs versus the Knicks, I'm going to be trying to play Mobley props every night because he's just bigger, stronger than Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, we all talk about the meme. comes up every year of Karl Anthony Towns trying to back down DeMarcus Cousins. And DeMarcus Cousins is just staring at him. Like, it feels like we're going to get that again. And for me, I don't know if I like the Cavs or the Knicks more. I think I lean more towards the Knicks, and the series price will tell you that, of course, too, that the market thinks that as well. But I'm going to be looking to play Evan Mobley every single night just because I think he's going to outmuscle Karl Anthony Towns every single night of that series.
So I'm just looking at some of his box scores against the Knicks this year. Mobley had, let's see, in 24 minutes on February 24th, he had 12 points, 7 boards. Let's see, but again, I'd have to look inside the box score to see, like, if Cat didn't play or not, whatever.
Sure.
25 minutes back on Christmas, and he had 14 points and 9 boards. And then Wednesday, October 22nd, he had 22 points and 8 boards. So it sounds like maybe a points plus rebounds prop.
Yeah.
For Mobley going up against the Knicks and maybe going up against Towns. And we're going to see what the books list Karl Anthony Towns' assist numbers at, because there was an article that came out like last week about Point Towns that I've been calling him, and everybody's been calling him with the assist numbers.
We talked about it last week.
Yeah. And it cashed again. So I'm very curious to see what the sports books list his assist prop at. But I actually think that going up against a bigger guy in Mobley is going to help the assist numbers for Towns, because you're going to want to pull him away from the basket. You're going to want to have Towns be the facilitator of that offense at the top of the key and distribute to his teammates. Series price right now up on FanDuel, Knicks minus 240 over the Cavaliers. It's a big number, but given the way that both of these teams have played in the playoffs, I'm okay with it. Like I said, the Knicks should be favored in this series, regardless if it was the Cavs or the Pistons. To see them as north of $2 favorites does not surprise me, given the metrics of how both teams have played here in the playoffs.
No, 1,000%. And I think we talked about this a little bit last week, too, of whoever came out of this series between the Cavs and the Pistons, it would be the Knicks. They would be the heavy favorites, and as they should be. Like, they're clearly the better team. They have a more cohesive unit about them. I mean, I'm thinking about it, Scott. I kind of want to take the Cavs plus the games, though. If we're trying to think about creative ways to bet the series, I might bet the Cavs plus a game and a half here in this series, because I do feel like this is going to be a nip and tuck series. I feel like it's going to be, we're talking about Mobley versus Towns. I think Donovan Mitchell on Jalen Brunson and James Harden, for all of his faults that we talk about a lot, I feel like that's going to be a highly contested series. And I do see this going, I mean, we can even talk about a series games over as well, because I feel like this to me feels like a long series. I don't know if you feel the same about that.
Okay. I mean, I tweeted out Knicks in 4. I was being very facetious because obviously I have not been impressed with the way that either the Pistons or the Cavs have played here in this series. But I think the Knicks can really handle it and win maybe in 5, 6 at the most. I gave out a bet on last Friday's show that I would want to re-emphasize now, and that is Karl Anthony Towns to be the Eastern Conference Finals most valuable player. It was 10-1 when we gave it out last week. It's now plus 950 up on FanDuel. So you can still get plus 950 on Cat to be the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Look, Jalen Brunson is obviously the straw that stirs the drink, right? He's going to score the most points. He's going to be the highlight reel. Like, he's going to get all the attention. He's minus 170 right now. So when you compare that to the Knicks odds of minus 240 and Brunson is minus 170 to win the MVP, it's basically telling us that 80% of the time it's going to be Brunson. I don't think that's the case, especially with Karl Anthony Towns racking up the assists. I gave out the numbers last week. We can continue to look at them. He's had double-digit assists in a couple of games, but he's consistently going over his assist prop. If he chips in, 20 points per game with the assist numbers, gets some rebounds, hits a couple of clutch shots, people will vote for the narrative. Karl Anthony Towns could win Eastern Conference Finals MVP. I still think at plus 950, you're getting good value.
I would agree with that. And I think that when we talk about finals awards and conference finals awards, nobody wants to bet a favorite, right? We want to look at different ways to try and think about this as well. I think, Kat, if we're thinking that he's not going to be a point scorer, but a distributor, and maybe, and everyone's going to want to bet Brunson because Brunson's the guy, and we see him in all of these videos and the men on the streets, and it's Jalen Brunson season. But that's what Cat was brought for, right? Like, that was what they traded for him for, and that was the point to get them over the edge. And I think that plus 950 is still a really good price to try and get creative. Like I was saying, try and get creative to bet the series. And I think Cat is probably the way to go, because if we think the Knicks are going to win the series, if we think, even if it's a long or short series, if we think that's going to be the way it goes, we can take some shots here.
Yep. I tweeted out also. I don't know if you saw this, Jake, but Awful Announcing had tweeted this out over the weekend. There was an ESPN promo that was run promoting Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Knicks and the Cavaliers. This was before Game 7 last night. So obviously,
Did
listen,
they know? Did they
that's
know?
listen, it didn't do a whole lot for the anti-scripted conversation, but the Cavs winning as convincingly as they did last night, because all the conspiracy theorists are coming out now saying that this was scripted and everyone should have known that the Cavs were going to win because ESPN released that commercial early.
Silver
Now,
made the call.
obviously,
Adam Silver made the call.
yeah, no, but look, listen, having worked in production, I know, like, you create these promos, you create the sizzle reels, and they're ready to fire based off of what happens. So they probably had one in the can just in case the Cavs won Game 6 and they could fire it, and then some intern somewhere just messed up,
Yeah.
like
someone fat thumbed it. Somebody fat
yes,
thumbed it and hit something send when they weren't supposed to.
Yes, but if you are a conspiracy theorist and you are someone that says that this stuff is scripted, oh boy, that is just fuel to your fire. Another stat that I tweeted out last night, that it has to do with Game 1 coming up here for the Knicks and the Cavs, and then also we could talk about Game 1 with the Thunder and the Spurs, because this qualifies as well. Here are your current lines up on FanDuel. Game 1 between the Spurs and the Thunder is tonight. So Thunder are 6.5-point favorites, total of 219.5. Game 1 of the Knicks Cavs is tomorrow night. Knicks are 7.5-point favorites up on FanDuel, total of 216.5. In game number ones, now this is in the history of the database going back to 2003. In the history of game number ones of the playoffs, when a team is coming off a week of rest, and both the Knicks and Thunder will be on 8 days of rest, these teams in game number one are 26-11 straight up, 24-13 against the spread. This just goes to show you that in the NBA playoffs, rest does not equal rust. Rest is good for these teams. Whereas in the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's different. In the Stanley Cup playoffs, there's actually incredible numbers, and we could talk about it based off of, like, who wins tonight's Game 7. But there's incredible numbers with the teams coming off of the Game 7 playing a team that's been sitting around for a while. It's like the teams that are coming off the Game 7 do great because they just carry that momentum, that intensity, whatever. But in the NBA playoffs, this data shows us since 2003, 26-11 straight up, 24-13 against the spread for the teams coming off of a week of rest. That would have you on the Thunder -6.5 and the Knicks -7.5.
And of course, you say the stats, and that backs it up. I will say, I'm going to say it to you. I'm going to bet the Spurs in every single game in the Western Conference Finals. And we talked about this last week with Wemby, and and I said to you, it just feels like this Spurs team and Wemby has decided that they're going to go to the finals. It's one of those things where it feels like best player, just back them. And the Spurs, I think, to me, have the best team and have the best player. And who wants to go against Victor Wembanyama? Who wants to go against the freak, the alien as it is? And I'm going to bet the Spurs in every single game. And I do feel, and we know what the Thunder are. The Thunder are a machine. They just do this. But doesn't it feel like the Spurs are a little different? They break the mold, especially, like I said, when you have somebody like Victor Wembanyama and they break the mold. He's somebody who's so different. But I can't speak to the Eastern Conference because, as we just said, it's the Cavs and the Knicks are what they are. But for me, for the West, I'm going to bet the Spurs in every single game.
Spurs this year against the Thunder, 4-1 straight up and against the spread. Those games were 3-2 to the under. And, we saw them win the first, 3 games against them before losing and then winning, the last game that they played against each other. I mean, they were all competitive. Like, they were just, and, some of those games had Wemby on restrictions, and this was just, it seemed like we kept asking the question, like, do the Thunder have a Spurs problem? I remember that being like one of the headlines of one of our podcast episodes or one of our newsletters that we sent out. It was, do the Thunder have a Spurs problem? And we're about to find out, because the Thunder, should roll. The numbers tell us that, in game one, they should roll. But like you, how could you not be interested in betting the Spurs with the success that they've had against the Thunder this year? Maybe the approach for me is going to be to bet the Thunder in like the first quarter or the first half tonight,
Hmm.
thinking that, because these teams also coming off the rest actually do very well in the first half and the first quarter. So maybe it's the rest helps them, the fatigue maybe catches up to the Spurs, but then as the game plays on, the Spurs' depth and their youth just wins out, because this is a team that has caused problems for the Thunder every time they've played them this year.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about it last week with the Spurs just have that depth. Like they don't stop. They just keep throwing guys at you. Even when Wemby's off the floor, even when their stars are off the floor, they just keep throwing guys at you. They're so tactical. And I do feel like it's strength against strength here, where it's the Thunder are a machine as well, but it feels like the Spurs were almost built for the Thunder,
Mm-hmm.
as you mentioned, the regular season record. So I think it's going to be really interesting, and it's going to be very, probably for us as bettors, it's probably going to be incredibly frustrating. But I think sometimes you just have to think about it as who's got the best player. To me, the Spurs have the best player, and this is kind of where their trajectory was taking them over the last 2 years. And this is what we were waiting for with them. And we talked about last week, even when Wemby is not that guy, they have the De'Aaron Fox, the Stephon Castle, and they make it happen. And so, sometimes you got to go against what the numbers tell you, and sometimes that for me is with the Spurs.
All right, we transition from the NBA playoffs to the Stanley Cup playoffs, where it is Game 7 tonight on the ice in Buffalo. The Sabres and the Canadiens, where Buffalo is just a slim favorite up on FanDuel at minus 128. Canadiens, you can get plus 106. The total is 5.5, juiced to the under at minus 128. And why not? Because Game 7s go under. We know that, right? This is what it is in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Since the 2021 season, we are 11-5 to the under in game number 7s, and that includes a Canadiens 2-1 win over the Tampa Bay Lightning in a game 7 in the previous round. So they've been here before. They've done that. Are you more inclined, Jake, to look at the history and know that game 7s are tight and game 7s are low scoring, and to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to keep riding the trends of the unders? Or do you look at every game that the Sabres and Canadiens have played against each other, and this even goes into the regular season, and it's just over. I mean, we had 6 goals in game 1, 6 goals in game 2, 8 in game 3. We only had 5 in game 4, 9 in game 5, and 11 in game number 6. I mean, I know history tells us to go under in game 7, but I'm scared with these two teams.
Yeah, I'm scared too. And you would think that because like hockey is such a gritty, gross sport where everybody says, oh, game 7, it's just going to be nip and tuck, to use the term that I used earlier when we were talking about the NBA as well. And these guys are just going to be laying everything on the line. Scott, I'm going to say something. I think that I'm going to go with the history, and everyone, because what's going to happen. Everybody on hashtag gambling Twitter is going to say, oh, we got to go the overs, the hashtag the trends, and the milkman said, oh, well, remember the 11 goals. And I think for game 7, when it's hockey, because I feel like we have to talk about the trends with hockey are so different because it's just such a weird sport. And I'm going to go the under in this one. I'm going to go contrarian. I'm going to go under in game 7. And, the odds are telling us that it's a coin flip. And I'm going to lean with the home team. I think the Sabres have been thinking about this and wanting this and building to this for a long time. If I had to pick, I would say the Sabres, but I'm also going to go against the grain here. I'm going to say the under because I think that it's just going to be bodies on the ice, blocked pucks. Might be a lot of shots, but I'm going to go the under in this one because I do think it's going to be gritty as hell.
And even going back 10 years, we're still at a massive under trend, 22, 13, and 4 to the under. It's just game 7s are under games.
Yeah.
So total's 5.5. It's juiced to the under. I mean, could you get cute and play like an alternate under 6.5 with in a same game parlay type thing? I don't even think you have to. This could easily be a 2-2 overtime game. That finishes 3-2. It's game 7. I mean, how do you not bet an under? in a
Exactly.
game 7. I'm gonna feel really stupid when it's 3-0 halfway through the first period, and then it winds up being a 3-3 tie at the end of 3. But save this clip in case that's exactly what happens
This is how
in
we go
that game
viral.
tonight. Exactly, that's exactly what happens in this game here tonight. All right, let's talk about some other topics here in the world of sports. Yesterday, Jake, Aaron Rye became the biggest long shot to win a major title in maybe golf betting history. Some sports books reported Rye as high as 290 to 1 to win the Wanamaker Trophy as the winner of the PGA Championship, and that's exactly what he did, finishing 9 under and besting, sorry for your bet, John Rahm, who finished at 6 under, Alex Smalley, who a lot of people were betting after a couple of rounds at 6 under, Justin Thomas finished at 5 under, Ludwig Oberg, he finishes T4 at 5 under as well.
Scott, I'm so over the Ludwig Ober experience. We've been doing this for about 2 years with this guy. I'm starting to think it's just never going to happen. Yeah, I mean, as you alluded to, I had Rahm, and it's just, there's no more excruciating experience than a golf sweat. And you're sitting there and you're just miserable for 4 hours on a Sunday. And as the scary set in, as you think about the work week ahead, and as somebody who had Rahm, I'm just sitting there like, okay, well, this is a great start to just having a sucky week. But I mean, anybody who had Rye, congrats to you. I know people. I was sitting with some people at the bar last night, and the guy goes, "Oh, I think Rye's gonna win." I said, "No way! A 2-glove guy is gonna win a major? No way!" And here we are. I think to make it an overarching betting conversation, these live guys, Rahm, Cam Smith was in it as well. Bryson missed the cut. Like, we're out on these live guys. I'm done. I'm done with the live guys, Scott.
So BetMGM closed Rye at 150 to 1. The Westgate here in Vegas closed them at 200 to 1. Caesars reported that a patron in New York, and shout out, hey, if it was one of our Better Day guys, please let us know. A patron in New York bet $190 on Rye at 200 to 1 odds, cashed for $38,000. Entering Sunday's final round, he was 18 to 1 to win the championship. During the final round, he was a 44 to 1 long shot during the live odds. And according to ESPN research, he is the biggest long shot to win a major in at least the past 20 years, surpassing Phil Mickelson at the 2021 PGA Championship and Louis Oosthuizen at the 2010 Open Championship. Both of those golfers were 200 to 1 long shots. So shout out to anybody who bet Aaron Rye. I can tell you right now, any research that I did on this event, I didn't see anybody mention Aaron Rye.
Nope.
So I can't give credit to anybody because I don't know about anybody who bet it. I had Cam Young. That did not come through. I took a shot on JJ Spawn. That did not come through. So my golfers stood no chance.
Yeah, I'm with you. We're all losers together.
Let's talk Major League Baseball, where, we can all be losers at times in Major League Baseball. There's so many ups and downs. Part of the excitement over the course of a season is betting on teams where you think they're about to hit a change. You think they're about to go on a run. And when the Phillies fired Rob Thompson, I came on this podcast, we typed it out in the newsletter, and I said the Phillies are a buy-on team. And it's not because I have so much respect for Don Mattingly. I mean, first off, everyone knows I'm a Yankee fan. I grew up idolizing Don Mattingly, but that's not the reason why I respect him as a baseball manager. But the decision to fire Rob Thompson, and by the way, when that happened, I thought for sure Alex Cora was going to be the manager of the Phillies, right? Although he turned down Dave Dombrowski. But I said at the time, and you can go back and read the newsletter, go back and listen to the podcast. I said that the Phillies are a buy-on team because their window is closing.
Mm-hmm.
And by firing Rob Thompson as early in the season as they did, that was the Phillies acknowledging that the time is now, that this window is closing. You go look up and down that roster. All of their marquee players are in their 30s. Real Muto, Zach Wheeler, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber. They are all, Adolis Garcia, they're all aging out. And so if they don't win now, if they don't contend now, I don't know what the future, they might blow this whole thing up.
Yeah.
I don't know what the future of this team is. And I said that they'll probably go on a little bit of a run. You get the fired manager boost or whatever. But more importantly, because of the incentive to win now and because of the financial backing that they have, the Phillies are going to be one of the more aggressive teams towards the trade deadline. And I think they will do what they need to do to improve their roster and contend for not just the National League East, but to just get into the playoffs and make a run. Well, since Don Mattingly took over, the Phillies are 15-4, and they are now above 500. Don't look now. I mean, you should look because I'm telling you about the standings. But the Phillies in second place are 8 games behind the Atlanta Braves. But in the National League wild card picture, they're just 3.5 games out, and they are the first team that is out of the playoff picture. So if the season ended today, Phillies would finish just outside the third wild card. But 3.5 games with as long as the season that we have left is absolutely nothing. Not only can they contend for the National League East, but they are absolutely going to be in position to be a wild card. Are you with me in buying in on the Phillies right now?
I think I am with you because also we saw this in recent history when the Phillies did this with Joe Girardi just a couple of when Rob Thompson was the guy that took over and they made a run to the World Series. And I mean, Scott, you look at the wild card picture. Who are you scared of here? Like, are you scared of the St. Louis Cardinals? Are you scared of that rotation? Are you scared of Dustin May and a lead rotation in the St. Louis Cardinals by that? Are you scared? And we all talk about the Milwaukee Brewers and how they just wake up and they're zombies and they win 90 games. But, I mean, to your point, the Phillies are a couple games out. I was high on the Pittsburgh Pirates, and that rotation is awesome, of course. But, like, we know what the San Diego Padres are. They fade down the stretch as well. And we're still waiting for Fernando Tatis Jr. at his first home run. If that's ever... Luis Arias has 2 more home runs than Fernando Tatis Jr. does. So I think that this is a very soft NL wild card. And there are a lot of teams that are soft that the Phillies can jump. And the Phillies did this. And when you have a team that is led by an MVP like Bryce Harper, like a Kyle Schwarber, who is now, 3rd or 4th in the MVP odds. I think this Phillies team can make a run. They're going to be a bet for me on a game-to-game basis at the very least.
Oh, for sure. Looking at the odds to make the playoffs for the Phillies, let's see the yes-no price. Let's see. Yes-no on the Phillies is the yes is minus 140 on the Phillies to make the playoffs.
Looks like the book
agrees. Looks like the book agrees with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Phillies to the playoffs. All right, let's talk about the slate of games for today, Monday, here in Major League Baseball. There's a potential Sunday night fade. The Padres coming off of a Sunday night game in Seattle, travel home to take on the Dodgers. When it comes to the Sunday night fade, Jake, I prefer the team traveling on the road. Like, I prefer if the Padres went from Seattle to like another city rather than going home. But that being said, it's never a bad idea to bet on the Dodgers. It's Yamamoto against Michael King tonight in San Diego.
Yeah, 100%. And the odds tell you that too. I mean, you got Yoshinobu Yamamoto at a minus 156 price at FanDuel right now. And that makes sense. He's a guy who's in the Cy Young candidacy right there. And the Padres, it would be so San Diego just for them to completely go the opposite way. Even because it depends. And I don't think this is a bad live bet opportunity because when you look at Michael King, you know what kind of Michael King you're getting in the first inning or not. If it's bad King, good King. And so you can make this even a live bet opportunity. And I would even look at that as a total play because when he's on, that guy is on, and you know what Yamamoto is going to do on a day-to-day basis as well.
We have an interesting game on the schedule for tonight. The first place Atlanta Braves, who have the best record in Major League Baseball with 32 wins and 15 losses. They have a plus 98 run differential, the best run differential in all of Major League Baseball. They are 16-7 on the road, the best away record in Major League Baseball. Yet the Braves tonight are dogs in Miami against the Marlins. Max Meyer on the mound for the Marlins. J.R. Ritchie, or Junior Ritchie, as some people like to call him, is on the mound for the Braves. Up on FanDuel right now, Miami, minus 116. Is this the case where, the public's going to be on the Braves because of the record and because why are the Braves dogs, right? But the move here is backing Meyer and backing the Marlins.
And you know what, Scott? I'm going to go contrarian here. I actually think I'm going to be with the public. I think that there are certain teams in Major League Baseball, when they're dogs, I'm just going to take them. The Braves are one. The Chicago White Sox are one as well, too. Like, I bet them all weekend against the Cubs. They took 2 or 3 from the Cubs at home, granted. But, I think the Braves are one of those teams where, and I was low on the Braves. I did not believe in this rotation. I didn't believe that they were, and they're doing this without Ronald Acuna Jr. right now as well, mind you. He's on the injured list. I think that for the Braves, I'm going to keep backing this team until they give me a reason not to.
Okay, that's gonna be a fun one. I'm curious to see where the market goes throughout the day.
Agreed.
On this game. Very curious. All right, that'll wrap up this episode of Better Day. Make sure you follow us across all of your social media platforms. Coming up on Wednesday, Jake will have another episode of Off the Board with his co-host Colby Marchio. That'll be streaming on the Better Day YouTube page as well as the Better Day Twitter accounts. You want to make sure you follow there. Episodes air every Wednesday and Friday, and you can also hear it right here on this Better Day podcast feed. For Jake Hassan, I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.